right outside, so come on in, don't be shy. We've got ghosts and UFOs. Brace yourself, get ready for the show. Don't be afraid of the dark, the fun's about to start. Nightmares or tales will inspire. Oh, tonight at the Scaredy Campfire. Have you heard tell of a demon next door? Or maybe a cryptid on the lake shore? There's nothing too strange for us here, so if you're ready, stamp out your fear. Don't be afraid of the dark, the fun's about to start. Nightmares or tales will inspire. Tonight at the Scaredy Campfire. Whoa, whoa.
Welcome back, campers, to episode 26. The stories tonight creep in slowly, like fog rolling over familiar ground. They are quiet at first, but the longer you listen, the more they settle into you, refusing to let go. Some houses creak, some whisper, and some call you by name. Tonight's story comes from Reddit user u/sassyblonde47, who has been living with something she first dismissed as harmless. Lights, doors, toys. Things that could be blamed on chance. But then came the footsteps, the faceless woman, and a voice that sounded exactly like a little girl, calling from down the hall. What started as a ghost with a nickname now feels like something else entirely. Something mimicking, watching, and waiting. For context, I live alone besides having 50-50 custody of my 6-year-old daughter. I've owned my home since 2018. Activity started in early 2020. Basic things like lights turning off and on and doors opening and closing. My daughter was under 1 at the time and her toys would randomly go off as well. Me and her dad split in late 2020, called the ghost Linda, it deemed harmless. I asked it to stop with the lights and doors and toys, and it did stop for a long period of time. I had a roommate move in 2021. She commented that there were steps in the hallway, almost like someone pacing. It didn't bother me, so I never asked it to stop. 2022, I started dating a covert sadistic narcissist. There was a lot of activity in my house while I was dating him. There was always negative energy when he was around, so I chalked up the activity relative to him. This is where I start questioning whatever is in my home. I've always experienced sleep paralysis since a child. One early morning, me and a narcissistic boyfriend were sleeping. I was awake in sleep paralysis. I saw out of the corner of my eye a woman walking to me. She had no face, white skin, long white hair, black clothing. She got on top of me, smothering me. Somehow I started coming out of the paralysis and began hitting her. Eventually, I could tongue-twistingly start yelling at her, telling her to fuck off and calling her a bitch. I have no idea how, but I called her Anna and she disappeared. I've never had sleep paralysis since. My boyfriend woke up and I told him the story only for us to Google that there is a folklore of a sleep paralysis demon named Anna. I saged my home, put protection on my doorways, and I have since then done this periodically just for safe measures. After awful boyfriend finally let me break up with him, I rid my house of any of his stuff, cleansed, etc., and activity has been minimal. A few months ago, I was working in the garage and my daughter was in her room sleeping. I heard her frantically yelling for me, "Mom, Mommy, where are you?" I sprinted up the stairs to her room. Her door was closed. I checked and she was fast asleep. Since then, I've had activity in my kitchen. If there's dirty dishes in my sink, I joked to my friends Linda was trying to do the dishes. We named her Linda because during a remodel after we tore down some wood panels, behind it was "Hi Linda" painted behind the wood paneling. The people who built my house literally live across the street. There's been 2 owners since then, one elderly lady and one middle-aged man. None of these people were named Linda, and the wood paneling was original to the house in 1968. For your information, I have also been remodeling since I bought the home, so activity couldn't be related to that. This mimic of my daughter's voice happened again just last week. I was laying in my bed, she was sleeping in her room. I heard a very soft "Mom" from down the hallway where her room is. I ignored it. I mentioned this to my friends last night, where they both looked at me wide-eyed and told me about mimic demons and how they will try to mimic my voice and lure my daughter into danger. There has been times where she came to me when I got out of the shower and asked me why I was talking to her from down the hallway. I didn't think much of this. She was 6. She lives in her own world sometimes. For the last 2 weeks, both me and my daughter have felt run down, exhausted, barely sleeping, randomly nauseated. Last night, I dug my St. Christopher medallion out that my dad had blessed by a cardinal and given to me when I got my license as a teenager. I immediately felt better, not sure if that's physiological. I also prayed before bed, which I do occasionally anyway, and I felt overwhelmed with heat. The reason I feel as if this had been with me my entire life is that I grew up in a house that was very haunted. A little boy accidentally died in the house. His father ended up committing suicide out of guilt. I also prayed with an Ouija board to try to communicate with it, and my brothers claimed that it made things worse. They lived in basement where both deaths happened. Nothing ever came out of the Ouija board. Nothing moved or answered. Our family dog never went into the basement, and he would stand at the top of the stairs with all his hair standing up and show his teeth. I 100% believe I grew up with multiple spirits in the home and some demonic activity. I'm very sensitive to spiritual activity because of this. I feel things in certain places. I sense things. I see shadows and orbs. But I've been confident that some of the places I've lived were not haunted. I lived with my boyfriend after leaving my childhood home, although I experienced the most sleep paralysis with him as I did at home. Nothing else felt off. I went to an apartment for years after that. Nothing ever happened there. And the first few years I was at my house, no activity ever. I made an appointment with a medium for next week. I've been saging, praying, envisioning happiness in a bright white light. I'm honestly scared to death, and I'm not sure what to do until then. Whether it's Linda, a mimic, or something that's followed her since childhood, U/SassyBlonde47 is left saging her doorways, praying and clutching a medallion while she waits for answers. Until the medium arrives, she and her daughter are caught in a quiet tug of war with something they can't see but feel. An unseen guest that may not just be haunting her house, but her life. Some places die quietly. Others keep breathing long after everyone's left. Tonight's story comes from Reddit user u/distinct_pickle_6433, who thought they were taking a peaceful solo walk through abandoned houses deep in the forest. Places they'd explored before without a hint of trouble, but this time was different. This time the air itself stopped moving. The woods fell silent and something inside one of those forgotten homes made sure they knew they weren't alone. So, near my place of work are a few abandoned houses. Not abandoned city houses, but houses tucked away in the forest. The acreage these houses sit upon abuts my employer's property, which is why I even know about them. From what I understand, the homes are owned by one family and for reasons unknown left 4 homes in the forest without taking any of their belongings. I'm talking garages and bedrooms full of stuff, and just one day they left and never sold the property, so the homes have sat to rot for the last 20 to 30 years. Though these houses are very isolated from the nearest road, local kids are aware of these houses. Over the years, kids have partied up there, vandalized the absolute hell out of these homes, beer cans and broken glass and spray paint tagging, but can you blame them? I've explored these houses many times with co-workers, and each time we've explored, nothing scary or paranormal occurred. Just your regular abandoned house stuff. It's obvious the local kids have pillaged these homes, turning drawers out and sifting through every closet hoping to find some treasure. A few weeks ago, I decided I wanted to go for a nature walk and revisit these houses. It was a bright sunny day, so I went alone. In hindsight, this was a bad idea. Once I got to the houses, I paused and took in my surroundings, listening to the nature all around me. Squirrels traipsing through the forest, birds singing, bugs buzzing, deer in the distance, the woods being very alive all around me. I decided to go into the largest of the homes. This house was likely lived in by the grandparents of this family, because the furnishings inside were quite dated and the clothes in the closets were not modern. I know the layout of this house as I've been in it many times before, so I enter through the garage, careful to keep my eye on the hole in the garage roof in fear of a raccoon family I suspect lives there, judging by the scat always near the hole. I go through the door and into the hallway that leads me to the kitchen. As I'm walking down the short 20-foot hallway, I glance into a small bedroom on my right, and I see a freshly painted smiley face on a wall. Not just a happy face, but a very creepy smiley face, like from that Smile movie. But again, local kids party up here all the time, so I think nothing of it and continue walking to the kitchen. The kitchen is the center of this home. From the kitchen, I have 3 options. Continue to the living room that connects to the wing of the home that overlooks the pool, go down the cracked door to the basement, or head upstairs to the bedrooms. Behind me was the kitchen table and windows overlooking the yard. As I paused to ponder where I wanted to go, something happened. Out of nowhere, an overpowering feeling of dread came over me, and every single hair on my body stood on end. It was the feeling of something being behind me and on top of me at the same time, like I was less than a second away from being attacked by an apex predator. Upon realizing I was feeling this way, I remained still and I held my breath and listened and could hear nothing. 0 sounds to indicate something was there, but nonetheless I was shook, so I hurriedly exited the house, same way I had come in, down the hall and out the garage. Once out of the house, I walked to overgrown lawn so I could peer into the kitchen and see the whole house simultaneously. I paused again to observe and listen. The feeling of something being behind me I felt in the kitchen was now a feeling of something being in front of me. Something in the house seeing me? It was then did I realize I couldn't hear anything. No birds, no squirrels, no bugs, nothing. No life. All of the forest life I had observed a few moments ago was gone. There was an eerie stillness all around me. That stillness, that silence, and the feeling of something in the house seeing me was enough. I left. After that, I walked away from that house and felt like I was being followed for the first 100 yards or so. But again, no sound. It wasn't until 400 yards or so did I begin to hear wildlife. Once I was a good distance away, I called my partner and explained to her in a husband tone what just happened, and she forbid me to ever go back to that house. Obviously, I agreed. I made it to my truck. I was safe. In conclusion, I have never ever experienced anything like that in my life. But I will never go explore these homes again. Whatever was in there stayed there. Had I stayed in that kitchen another minute, I'm really unsure what would have happened to me. Now, I didn't see anything. Hell, I didn't even hear anything, but what I felt in the core of my being was a malicious presence that intentionally let me know it was observing me. And frankly, just typing this has my skin crawling. And now I can't shake seeing that smiley face on the wall. Its grin was certainly sinister. That's all. That's my story. Take it for what it's worth. Stay safe out there. They didn't see it. They didn't hear it. But the user felt it, like a predator poised to strike from just beyond sight. A house full of left behind belongings. A fresh painted smiley face and an invisible presence that cleared the woods of life itself. Whatever stayed behind in those homes made its warning clear. Some places don't want to be explored. Some places watch back. That ends episode 26. Some fears don't strike like thunder. They seep, they linger, they grow. Until we gather again, keep your guard high and your silence steady. The fog carries more than mist.
As the night gets longer and the darkness creeps in, with the eerie silence broken only by whispering wind, come gather round the fire, the flickering flames, and hear the tales of the spooky and the strange. A chill up your back, a shiver up your spine. You'll be haunted by the things that you find. Legends will unfold and stories will be told at a scary campfire for only the bold.